If you look closely, honestly, what if I told you that the dirty, grimy, seemingly worthless change rattling around in your cup holder right now could actually be the key to your financial freedom, hiding a secret so shocking that it has sent the entire collecting world into an absolute frenzy? We are talking about life-changing money hidden in plain sight, disguised as a common 10-cent piece that you wouldn't look at twice. However, inside that small metal disc lies a fortune that could pay off your mortgage, buy you a luxury car, or even set you up for life with millions of dollars. If you look closely, honestly, to be fair, if you look closely, these seemingly ordinary coins could be worth thousands or even millions of dollars today. So before you spend that old dime on a stick of gum or toss it into a toll booth, stick around, because you might be holding a fortune in your hands and you don't even know it yet. It is absolutely crucial that you stop ignoring your old coins, because the biggest mistake you can make is assuming that just because a coin looks old, worn, or damaged, it is worth nothing, when in reality the dirt and grime could be masking a numismatic masterpiece that experts are desperate to find. In fact, honestly, we are going to dive deep into the specific details of the legendary 1980 to no mint mark diamond for other astronomical rarities that look just such as the change in your pocket. Also, if you aren't checking your change, you are literally throwing away free money. In fact, simply put, imagine the regret, the absolute gut-wrenching feeling of finding out that the dime you just gave away was the holy grail of modern coins, a mistake that could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You need to start digging through your drawers, raiding your old piggy banks. To be fair, also scouring every single roll of coins you can get your hands on, because the treasure hunt of a lifetime begins right now. First up, we need to talk about the coin that brought you here, the absolute legend of the coin collecting world, the 1980 to no mint mark Roosevelt dime, a coin that has caused more excitement and more frantic searching than almost any other modern currency in existence. In fact, to be fair, in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint began adding a P mint mark to the obverse of the dime right above the date to distinguish their coins from those made in Denver. However, in 1982, a truly massive error occurred, where a working die was sent to the production floor without that crucial peel letter punched into it. Honestly, if you look closely, this seems such as a small detail, a tiny missing letter. However, in the world of high-stakes numismatics, this error is the difference between 10 cents and thousands of dollars. Basically, you need to look closely at every single 1982 dime you find, because if you see the date 1982 and there is absolutely no letter above it, no P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver, you have just found a coin that could skyrocket in value. Most people assume that a missing letter is just wear and tear. Honestly, if you look closely, simply put, however, this is a specific documented error that collectors are hunting for with a desperation that borders on obsession. There are two varieties of this coin, the strong strike and the weak strike. If you look closely, honestly, also, while both are valuable, finding a strong strike version where the details of Roosevelt's hair and the torch on the reverse are crisp and sharp could mean you are holding a coin worth significantly more. Imagine finding this in a handful of change you got from the grocery store. Basically, in fact, to be fair, you are looking at a potential payday of hundreds, even thousands of dollars for a single dime. Also, the only thing standing between you and that money is the time it takes to check your pocket. If you look closely, do not let this opportunity slip through your fingers, because these coins are out there circulating right now, passing from hand to hand. Also, the next person to hold it could be you. Honestly. However, the 1982 dime is just the tip of the iceberg, the entry point into a world of unimaginable wealth hidden in small change. Simply put, honestly, secondly, we have to discuss a coin that is so rare, so legendary. Honestly, also so incredibly valuable that it has been called the king of modern coins, a coin that could instantly make you a millionaire if you are lucky enough to stumble upon it. Simply put, honestly, we are talking about the 1975 no S-proof dime. This is the holy grail. In fact, honestly, this is the coin that keeps collectors awake at night. In 1975, the San Francisco Mint was producing proof sets, which are special high-quality coins intended for collectors. Simply put, basically, to be fair, in fact, also every single one of them was supposed to bear the S Mint mark to signify its origin. However, in a shocking lapse of quality control, a very small number of dimes were struck without the S Mint mark, creating a rarity that is almost mythical in its scarcity. Simply put, only 2 of these coins have been confirmed to exist. Also, they were found in proof sets that had been purchased for a few dollars. However, today, those coins are worth astronomical sums. Basically, one of these 1975 no S dimes sold at auction for over $500,000. If you look closely, in fact, also experts believe that if another one were to surface today, it could easily shatter records and sell for millions. The scary part is that there could be more of them out there sitting in dusty old proof sets in someone's attic, or perhaps one broke out of its case into circulating as a regular dime waiting for a sharp-eyed hunter to spot it. In fact, simply put, basically, honestly, you have to check every single 1975 dime you see, especially if it has a mirror such as finish, because if you find one without that estimate mark, you have hit the ultimate jackpot. Stop what you are doing and start examining your collections, because the thought of $1 million coin sitting unnoticed in a jar is enough to give anyone chills. Simply put, in fact, basically, this is not a real, this is a legitimate treasure hunt where the prize is a life of luxury. Don't just toss it aside thinking it's just a shiny dime. Examine it with a magnifying glass, look for that missing S, and if you find it, get it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC immediately, because you are holding a winning lottery ticket that never expires. Basically. Also, thirdly, we move on to a coin that deceives almost everyone who touches it, a coin that disguises itself as a cheap modern clad dime, but is actually made of precious silver, a transitional error that is worth thousands upon thousands of dollars. Simply put, if you look closely, honestly, we are talking about the 1965 silver Roosevelt dime. In 1965, the United States Mint made a truly massive change, switching from 90% silver plancetite to a copper-nickel clad composition because of the rising price of silver. Basically, if you look closely, however, in the chaos of this transition, a few leftover silver plancetites from 1964 were accidentally fed into the presses and struck with the 1965 date. This created a coin that looks exactly such as a regular 1965 dime, but is actually a rare silver error that collectors will pay a fortune to own. Honestly, how do you tell if you have one? It's all about the weight and the edge. A regular copper-nickel dime from 1965 weighs approximately to 27 grams. Honestly, however, a silver error dime will weigh closer to 50 grams. If you look closely, if you have a gram scale, you need to weigh every 1965 dime you come across, because that tiny difference in weight is the signal that you have struck gold. In fact, basically, you also need to look at the edge of the coin. A clad dime will have a visible copper stripe running through the side, looking such as a sandwich of metals. However, a silver dime will be solid silver white all the way through. Honestly, in fact, imagine the thrill of spotting a white edge in a stack of dimes, the rush of adrenaline as you realize you are holding a rare silver error worth thousands of dollars. Honestly, these coins are often found in rolls of dimes or old jars of change because people assume that all 1965 coins are common. However, you know better now. You have the knowledge to spot the difference, to separate the treasure from the trash. Basically, simply put, do not let a single 1965 dime pass through your hands without checking the edge and weighing it, because you could be throwing away a down payment on a house. If you look closely, this is the kind of secret that separates the wealthy collectors from the amateurs. In fact, also now you are in on the secret. Start digging through your drawers, ask your relatives for their old coins. In fact, simply put, also hunt for that silver edge, because it is a beacon of wealth in a sea of common change. And fourthly, we have to talk about a mystery that has baffled experts and created a frenzy of speculation, a coin that was supposed to exist and yet commands a price tag that will make your jaw drop. Simply put, if you look closely, this is the 1964 SMS Roosevelt dime. If you look closely, the term SMS stands for Special Mint Set. Honestly, in 1964, the Mint did not produce standard proof sets. Simply put, however, a handful of extremely high-quality, sharp-struck coins with a unique unfinished were discovered years later. In fact, basically, honestly, origin remains a mystery. Some believe they were struck as prototypes or special presentation pieces for the Mint director. Basically, however, somehow they escaped into the wild and are now among the most coveted coins in the world. Honestly, these 1964 SMS dimes are not such as your regular pocket change. They have a distinct sharp strike with square rims and a satin such as luster that makes them pop out visually. Honestly, they do not have a mint mark. However, their appearance is unmistakable to the trained eye. If you look closely, finding one of these is such as finding a needle in a haystack. However, if you do, you are looking at a coin that is sold for tens of thousands of dollars. To be fair, the record for a 1964 SMS dime is astronomical. Also, the demand for them is only increasing as more collectors try to complete their sets. Simply put, basically, honestly, to be fair, honestly, you need to look at the quality of the strike on your 1964 dimes. If you see one that looks unusually sharp with crisp details in the finish, that is neither fully proof nor fully matte, you might be holding a special mint set rarity. Simply put, don't just spend it at the convenience store. This is a piece of numismatic history that belongs in a museum or a high-end collection. Also, it could be sitting in your pocket right now. If you look closely, to be fair, the thought that such a valuable item could be mistaken for a common 10-cent coin is terrifying, which is why you must be vigilant. You must be the one who spots it. Honestly, basically check your collection, check your change. Also keep your eyes peeled for that satin finish, because it is the sign of a fortune waiting to be claimed. Honestly, simply put, honestly. Also, at the end, leading us to our final and perhaps most intriguing segment, we have a coin that proves that errors can happen at any time and that the mint is not infallible, a modern error that you might have ignored 1,000 times. Basically, if you look closely, we are discussing the 1983 no-S proof dime. To be fair, much such as the 1975 rarity, the 1983 no-S is a proof coin that was struck without its intended mint mark, a major blunder that created an instant classic. Basically, to be fair, simply put, these coins were only found in proof sets. To be fair, also, they are much rarer than the standard 1983 dimes you find in circulation. To be fair, if you have any old proof sets from 1983 lying around, or if you buy collections from estate sales or flea markets, you need to check the dime immediately. Honestly, if that dime is missing the S mint mark, you have found a coin worth thousands of dollars. If you look closely, honestly, it is shocking how many people buy proof sets and never look closely at the coins inside, assuming they are all the same. However, that assumption is costing them a fortune. Basically, the 1983 no-S dime is a heavy hitter in the collecting world, a coin that commands respect and high prices whenever it appears at auction. Imagine the scenario: you are at a garage sale. You see a stack of old plastic coin cases for $5, you buy them. In fact, also later you discover that one of them contains a 1983 no-S dime worth enough to buy a brand new car. This is not a fantasy, this happens to real people who take the time to look, who take the time to learn. Also, who understand that value is often hidden in the details. Simply put, you have to be obsessive about checking for mint marks, because that tiny little letter, or the lack thereof, is the key to unlocking the vault. If you look closely, the market for these error coins is exploding, with prices climbing higher and higher every year as new collectors enter the hobby and scramble to find these hidden gems. Basically, you do not often wish to be the person who had one of these coins and spent it on a cup of coffee. To be fair, honestly, simply put, you often wish to be the person who found it, graded it. To be fair, also sold it for a life-changing sum. To be fair, basically, the opportunity is real. However, you have to take action. In fact, start digging through your drawers right now. If you look closely, empty out those old jars. To be fair, basically check the coins in your car console. Look at the change you get back from the cashier. To be fair, honestly, every single dime is a potential lottery ticket, a potential fortune wrapped in a clad or silver shell. Basically, the 1980 no mint mark dime, the 1975 no-S, the 1965 silver transitional, the 1964 SMS. Also, the 1983 no-S are all out there waiting for someone with the knowledge and the persistence to find them. This is a treasure hunt of epic proportions. Honestly, if you look closely, in fact, also the map is right here in this video. In fact, you now know what to look for. To be fair, you know the dates. You know the errors. In fact, you know the values. If you look closely, the only thing left to do is to start hunting. If you look closely, honestly, in fact, do not let these coins slip away. Do not let someone else find your fortune. If you look closely, these coins are small, they are easy to miss. In fact, honestly, also they are easy to lose. Simply put, however, if you are vigilant, if you are careful. Also, if you are lucky, you could be the next person to make headlines with a shocking discovery. Honestly, the world of coin collecting is filled with stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary things. To be fair, if you look closely also, there is no reason why the next story can't be yours. Simply put, so stop what you are doing, grab a magnifying glass. Also start examining every single dime you own. In fact, stick around because you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Honestly, dive into your stash. To be fair, in fact, if you look closely, raid your piggy banks. Explore every nook and cranny where change might be hiding. In fact, to be fair, honestly, simply put, the hunt is on, the stakes are high. Also, the rewards are astronomical. Simply put, in fact, don't toss it aside. In fact, check your collection. In fact, start digging through your drawers. If you look closely, the clock is ticking. Also, these coins are getting rarer by the day. Simply put, good luck, happy hunting. Basically, also, may you find the jackpot that changes your life forever. Remember, it's not just loose change, it's a potential legacy. In fact, millions of dollars are floating around in circulation just waiting for the right person to spot them. Be that person. Simply put, be the hunter. Simply put, basically be the one who strikes it rich with a basic dime. In fact, the 1980 to no-mint mark dime is calling your name. To be fair, will you answer the call? Will you be the one to find the next big error? There is only one way to find out. To be fair, get out there and start looking.